Welcome aboard the news review segment on the AM show. And our guest joining us this morning, joining Kojo and I this morning, Dr. Palgrave Wachidankwa. He's former spokesperson on governance and security. And we'll also have Gideon Tete. He's a legal practitioner and a member of the NDC team. So he'll also be joining us to review the newspapers. Doc, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, how does it feel? I must ask you, because I'm sure our audience want to know. How does it feel to be in opposition?
This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it.
I sure you are rejoicing.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Leaving government for opposition.
Well, it is what the Ghanaian people requested for.
Okay.
And the view is different, the feeling is different, but we are a very engaging opposition government.
Okay.
Unlike others. And so very clearly you would see that there's a lot more work to be done to defend the legacy of the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government and to let the Ghanaian people know of what a privilege and an honor it was for us to be able to serve them during those 8 years.
Okay.
And to wish the new government, John Dramani Mahama, and the first female vice president the best in their leadership.
Would that be your initial comment for us, or is there something else you'd like to add? Plus, you also mentioned the legacy of Akufo-Addo. Just give me three things to back that. What would be the legacy of former President Akufo-Addo? What's the legacy?
High school, for me.
Okay.
Large industrialization, assembling of vehicles, one district, one factory.
Right.
Large drones.
One district, one factory.
Yes, absolutely. Large drones, the health infrastructure that has been put in place. These, for me, will be three significant things in addition to protecting the borders and the security that we have had over those 8 years.
Okay.
That would be my thoughts.
Kojo?
But I mean, the just after the swearing in, and you woke up in your house, how was it feel? We haven't been there before. How was it feeling like? That finally you've left government?
Well, you know, the onus really lies on everyone, that the opportunity that is given for you to govern, you govern well. And if you know that you have fought the good fight, you have finished the race, and now awaits you a crown of glory, it's a sign of relief. Yeah. And to see that you can transition effectively and smoothly to a new government and see that there are no casualties and see that the entire of Africa comes to the glory of Ghana. It's commendable. And I was very pleased with the high-ranking officials that came. Paul Kagame is an icon for everyone on the continent, and I think this should be his first time. I don't know if my mind serves me right, coming to Ghana, and to see the president of Botswana, see the rank and file of businessmen from Nigeria. Very, 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 very commendable. So waking up immediately after handing over, it's a clear fulfillment of the fact that you have done a good work, and you give yourself a pat at your soldier.
Okay. But those people who came for John Dramani Mahama, not for your government?
No, they came for the country. I mean, obviously they came for President John Dramani Mahama. They also came for the country, which is Ghana. And leadership is successive. And so very clearly, if the country was in turmoil, there was no way you would have those large numbers coming in.
You used to speak for the government in terms of governance and security, and you left out Ibrahim Traore. Reactions are pouring in about approaching the president with
with a gun strapped
to his waist, and the security protocols, and whether it was a breach or not. What do you make of all that?
So these are my thoughts. Okay, so you are aware the challenges that the sub-region has gone through.
Yes.
You are aware how ECOWAS has had to put those countries that has gone through destabilization of their democracy, tried as much as possible to give them some suspension, and how in the long term they have withdrawn from the community of heads of state and the Ubuntu that they so enjoyed.
Okay, let's get into the newspaper.
His life has been under threat. There's many times that he's been sought to be assassinated, across the world and even in his own country. I felt that they could have managed better the working on the days with the side arms. I mean, I felt that could have been managed a little bit more better.
Okay.
But be it as it may, I mean, it's happened. We don't want to cry over spilled milk, but it could have been managed a little bit better. Okay.
Points well noted. So let me get into the daily graphic. On the front page, Ghana misses inflation targets. December rate inches up to 23.8%. President revokes MMDCE's appointment. Energy crisis looms. We need $1.2 billion for Accra. Government and stakeholders are scrambling for a solution. Business grinds slowly at MDA's day one after transition. And of course, that altercation in Ablekuma North, returning officer says he is stepping down. I think I'm going to touch on all these major stories in the daily graphic. It's as thick as it can be this morning. So let's get into it. And let's start from the energy crisis that is looming. So the government has expressed concern about a potential energy sector crisis in the country, with Accra and its environs alone requiring around $1.2 billion of fuel costs for its predominantly thermal power plants. Consequently, a committee set up by the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, and at the instruction of President John Dramani Mahama, has met with industry stakeholders to find a quick solution to the looming crisis. However, government spokesperson Felix Kwachifosu told the Daily Graphic in an interview that the scheduled maintenance work on the WACP was supposed to be done October last year. I'm sure we are all following the story, but let me do one more before I come to you, gentlemen. And of course, we usher in our second guest, who's just joined us right now in the studio. There's a President revokes MMDCE's appointment, and President John Dramani Mahama has revoked the appointment of all chief executives of metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies and government-appointed assembly members across the country with immediate effect. And the decision, which took effect yesterday, was in line with the provisions of the Local Governance Act 2016. At least 26 of these 261 MMDCEs were appointed by the immediate past president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And there was a statement, and we all saw it. And the action by President Mahama is a clear departure from 2009, when President Mills asked MMDCs appointed by previous NPP administration to remain in power until he was ready to make his own appointment. These two major stories. Dr. Paul Dankwa, but we also have Mr. Tete in the studio with us, legal practitioner and member of the NDC. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Sweetie, good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for joining us. I know we may give you some time to get into your trail of thoughts, but the two stories that we're getting into right now is the energy crisis that is looming and the revoking of those, the appointment of those MMDCs as mandated by the president. But I want to start with you, Dr. Paul Dankwa, on these two stories.
Yes, so sweetie, I'll begin with the mandate of the president, John Dramani Mahama, and at the local government level, very, very significantly, when you are president of the republic, you have representatives that represent you at the local government level. And I think that he's been very swift with that decision is in accordance with standard practices for me as a governance person. And I'm very certain that other persons that held those roles that was conterminous with the reign of the Akufo-Addo Bawumia-led government. Clearly, you will know that immediately after government changes hands, your work is done. Yeah. So this is in accordance. I mean, the laws are very clear. It's in accordance with standard practices, and it's important that this has been done. It gives a lot more clarity to the government to immediately prepare, and I'm glad that he has appointed a coordinating officers at the various MMDCs to act instead as he prepares to set up his team. And so it's a step in the right direction.
It's sort of standard practice that when a new government comes and the MMDCs are asked to go off there, the people who assume that role is the coordinating directors before the appointment are done. But again, I think it was only the Mills, President Mills, who asked the MMDCs to continue for a certain period of time.
Right.
But it's interesting how this will go. Would say, you know, but I think, like he said, as an MMDC, you should know that after 7th December, especially,
your job is done.
When your party loses, of course, you start to hand over. And I know some people who started to pack out of their official bungalows after 7th December.
Yeah.
You know, so by now, you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
And someone said yesterday that you should even hand over your note on the 7th of January. Don't even go there and be asked to.
There's no surprise there.
No.
But Gideon Tete is legal practitioner for Greater Accra and regional director for conflict resolution for the NDC. What do you make of these two stories? And then you can add whatever you wanted to reflect on.
That's fine. Good morning. Let me say good morning to your viewers. Well, first of all, let me bring to the attention of the public that yesterday, I remember the last time you called me, we came here, we spoke about Ablekuma South and the Kwankwe South going to Dubai under the auspices of the Honorable Imanoni Ashimo, the NDC Greater Accra Regional Chairman. Yesterday, we welcomed them. They arrived and we welcomed them. They arrived in Ghana at 11 a.m. and we went there to welcome them. Some of your colleague media houses even came there to interview them and all that, just to show or indicate that the NDC rewards hard work. And so that is how come we chalked 31 seats out of 34 seats. And so we just want to remind members of the NDC that indeed, once they work hard all the time under the auspices and excellent leadership of the Honorable Imanoni Ashimo, they would get more rewards. Now, Shuti, on the issue of revocation of appointments, well, I recall that 8 years ago, when we were in government, once we lost, we did not even, some of our colleagues and some of us did not even go to the office, because as your colleague has mentioned, you don't need to actually wait for government to even revoke your appointment or even just quickly prepare your handing over those, because you've lost. And clearly, there's no way a new government will want to work with, an appointee that is working with, the previous government. That's one I agree. So standard practice. If it is good that yes, the late President Mills, did say, but by standard practice, once the president that appointed you is out of office, you just have to advise yourself to avoid any embarrassment. And so I think that this is standard practice. And of course, I know some MCs and DCs had already done the needful. And so this one is just a fact that, of course, by procedure, and by law, the appointment will have to be revoked before appointment is.
So no surprise there.
So once he's the lawyer, he should confirm this for us. Once your term comes on end, like the President Mahama has done, that they have to leave office, who takes over?
Oh, well, so I mean, don't forget that it's the president that appoints, and so the president can appoint and disappoint. And so once a president revokes your appointment, obviously someone will have to hold your fort. It can be the coordinator of that assembly. But of course, you indicate that you see clearly that even in the release signed by Dr. Kalusus Mahama, he indicated who they should hand over their staff to, so that at least the person will hold fort for the meantime whilst they prepare to appoint.
So it means that the president can appoint an interim person, or it automatically goes to the
president can appoint and disappoint. Okay. So once a president has appointed, don't forget that the president is not the human being, it's an office. So whoever occupies it has the powers to appoint and disappoint. And so you see that the president, who is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, revoked the appointment, yes. And that is in accordance to law.
Okay. Am I right in, it's not speculation, but you can confirm if this information is correct, that they intend to do some restructuring of local governance that align with their policies? So are we going to see something different this time in terms of the reappointments, what roles they will be assigned, and even how they get into office? Are we going to see something different?
Well, it may not be too different. Well, we already know how the municipalities and district assemblies run.
Yeah.
And so definitely whoever is appointed has in mind the 24-hour economy. It is a key policy under this government. And so basically whoever is there will be in line with whatever we have promised and even the things we want to do in our first 120 days.
Okay, great. Dr. Pargo, I don't know if you had a chance to talk about the energy crisis. I know we took the wind out of your sail there, but
okay,
yeah.
it's fine, it's fine. So it's early days. We want to observe the sitting president, John Dramani Mahama and his team. But, you know, sweetie, you're aware that there was a 4-week transitional period where there was a joint government because the Act mandates that you transition over a period of time. At a time when the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government was leaving office, we had a mandate to ensure that we keep the lights on considerably over the years and also ensure that Send Power and AXA consistently are receiving fuel to be able to keep the lights on. Today is day 3 or day 2 after the swearing in of John Dramani Mahama's reign. He's got just a 4-year mandate because this is his second term. I'm very certain that he's in a hurry, which is why he wants to run a 24-hour economy so that things can be done a lot more faster. We know that there are no energy issues or looming dangers at the time when we were leaving office. We know that. However, the government of the day has said that if they are unable to manage issues, we would get back to the dark days of doing so. I want to plead that the Ghanaian people have given the mandate to President John Dramani Mahama, overwhelmingly. A mandate that gives him an opportunity to be a legacy president and cleaning up some of the challenges that he had in his first term. Minded to think that people don't often remember things, but when you come into the scene, people begin to remember the records that you have had. We would want to see that the lights are kept on. We would want to see that industries survive. We would want to see that the country works. And would want to see that the President, John Dramani Mahama, I know that he set up a team, a 12-member team led by John Jenapo to look into these issues.
I want to take you back to that statement you made.
We were leaving office.
Yeah, you're getting there again.
Yes, at the time where we were leaving office, the government that was led by Akufo-Addo-Bawumia, we kept the lights on.
Yesterday, Kojo and I engaged some stakeholders in the energy sector. We were told that there was no fuel. You didn't make any arrangements. This outgone administration did not make any arrangements to purchase fuel. And we're looking at, well, this morning, the Daily Graphic is reporting 1.2 billion. But yesterday, I think Nana Mwesi told us that about $8 to $9 million immediately to fix the situations to keep the lights on for the next 100 days, because I asked him to give us an estimate. You were sure that you kept the lights on, but did you put in the necessary arrangements to ensure that when the next administration takes over, they can also keep the lights on for at least the first 1 month in office? Did you do that?
I'm even surprised.
Yes or no? Did you do that? Was that arrangement made?
I'm even surprised we're having this conversation, because I'll tell you what. You see, you recall that there was a time Parliament was supposed to meet. Ghanaian people remember that. Parliament was supposed to meet to be able to approve some middle-term budgets for the period when, before the President, John Dramani Mahama, sets up his team and before he does the State of the Nation address and all of that. You recall that. That Parliament did not sit. You also recall as well that, I mean, for me, during the transitional period, right, government opened up its books. Government was transitioning from one government onto another government. So is the transitional team from the incoming government now, did they not notice that these things were not done? So for me, okay, there is no way anyone would say that we either wanted to sabotage the John Dramani Mahama government or we did not prepare the incoming government effectively. No,
right.
because the transitional period gave time for that.
So I mean, listening to you, you are confirming to us that indeed you did not make provision, and you are saying that you didn't because there was no budget.
No, I didn't. I'm not confirming that.
But that's what you just said.
Hold on. All I'm saying really is that at the time we were leaving office, which is you can make it the 6th of January, Send Power had fuel. They were working. The lights had been on. AXA were receiving fuel, and there was a transitional period. You recall that. And then also there were moments that Parliament had to meet.
Yes, to do what?
There were outstanding procedures that Parliament had to meet. The Minister for Finance at the time had to go back to Parliament to make sure that they put together a small budget to run effectively and pay salaries and all of those. You recall that.
So what relationship does that have with the fact that no fuel was made available for the next government?
No, that's what I'm trying to say. You see, Kojo, I'm trying to bring your attention to the fact that there was a transitional team.
I get it.
Good.
But
And so if once there was a transitional team, the transitional team from the outgoing government and the incoming government opened their books. We didn't hear of this during the transitional period.
Okay.
Why were we hearing of it? Why were we hearing of it immediately after?
You were still in government, and the fact that you say that the Parliament refused to sit to approve a certain budget, it means you're trying to tell us that your inability to provide fuel is because Parliament didn't sit to approve a budget.
That's the conclusion you're making, but that's not what I'm saying.
I'm curious to see how Gideon reacts to this story.
Sweetie, thank you very much. It's unfortunate. We knew right from the word go that the Akufo-Addo government wanted to ambush us on the issue of Dumso. It must be set on record that indeed MPP didn't solve Dumso. It's the NDC that solved Dumso and added megawatts to actually lead to the fact that Dumso came to an end before we handed over power to the MPP. Under the MPP, they failed to pay their debts. The reason why Dumso, and if you notice, they actually were, taxful in terms of the areas that will experience Dumso. Depending on where you live, you will get to know that there's Dumso or not. I went to the Volta region during Christmas in Ho, and the light just goes off at any point in time. But when you come to some parts of Accra, you have lights. If you go to some parts like maybe Teshi-Nungwa, thereabout, the light just goes off and off. And so Dumso was already looming because of the fact that Akufo-Addo government failed to pay the IPPs, independent.
Right.
But you see, what I want to establish is that even though the MPP thought that they would ambush us and we'll find ourselves in a difficult situation, just yesterday, we bought some emergency fuel from Nigeria and other sources just to make sure that the lights are on. So we are ready. We mean business. We will not be caught by whatever tricks they wanted to do. The point is that they told us that they had left enough fuel there. At the time of, the swearing in, when it was checked, we realized that there was nothing there.
Did this come up during transition, during
yes,
the
quite,
joint?
Yes. If I'm sure you interviewed the Honorable Jinapo since he led the transition in terms of energy, and you would even listen to his interview when he was even interviewed on that.
So because I'm asking that to also get to the point that if it came up during the transition time, why didn't you also make buying the emergency fuel like you just did? We didn't hear until that you took over.
What did he say? He said government opened their books. So if you have opened their books, it means that you are being honest with me.
No, his point was that government opened it. So if there was anything
what is the meaning of opening books? When you open your book, does it not mean that you are being honest?
Yes.
Exactly. So
and he said if it was the case that there were no fuel, you should have known. You should have.
That is what I'm saying, that he indicated that they opened their books. What is the meaning of opening the books? It means being transparent and open. So if you open your books and you tell me that you have fuel, must I go? Does it mean that I should fail to trust you?
Okay. So they told you they had secured enough fuel, and you believed them. And so it only came up after you took over. Right.
What you told us is not what you told us. So you see, he has even confirmed that you opened your books. And open your book means that you are being accountable, not true. Which means that you want to be transparent and honest with us as to what you have left and what you have not left. And so if you open your books and you told us that you have fuel, you have enough fuel for this and that, and later we get to realize that it is not as much as you indicate, then it means you wanted to ambush us. But you see, bottom line, we have purchased emergency fuel from Nigeria and other sources to make sure that the lights are on.
Okay, I get it. But when they opened their books to you, you also took note of what was happening, right?
Yes, but
you could also understand the realities on the ground.
Yes, but
when someone gives you money, do you count it? Just to be sure that they gave you the accurate number that they said.
If you don't trust the person, that's when you count the money.
Did you trust? So you trusted them enough to...
Governance is a continuum. You have opened your books. It's a transition. This is not the first time transitions are happening in this country. Is that not so? When an outgoing government and incoming government are coming, you open your books, you tell us what you have and all that, so that we know that this is what you are leaving behind. And so once you tell us, it is expected that you are telling us the true state of the country. Not to lie to us, only to realize that it's a lie. But you see, what I want us to establish is that we are not a government of excuses. That is why when we realized that the NPP had lied, we didn't come, even though we indicated that this is what has happened. We didn't say that, okay, because NPP lied to us, the Akufo-Addo lied to us, so we are sitting down, put our hands, in our laps. No, we quickly found a way to make sure that we have lights.
So when is the fuel arriving?
Well, I cannot tell now, but the most important thing is that once we've purchased the fuel and from Nigeria and other sources, then it means that our lights are going to be on.
Okay. So I asked that because, remember, John Jinapor said the fuel that the plant
that was before his confirmation. That was before we purchased the fuel.
Okay.
No, I get it. I get it. This was just he spoke. I think was here yesterday.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
That the lights were going to stay on for two days.
2 days
and then the fuel that is now that they found was 5 hours.
Exactly.
That's why I'm asking, when will the fuel you've purchased?
That is why we are saying that it's called emergency fuel. It means that immediately we bought it. Emergency means that it will not take the time that we are talking about. Don't forget that what you discussed was before the meeting with President John Mahama just yesterday.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what happened yesterday. Once, as at the time the Honorable John Jinapor was speaking, they had not had a meeting with President John Mahama on the issue of this doomsday matter. And so once that was done, quickly there was a meeting where we quickly purchased emergency fuel to make sure that our lights are on. So emergency fuel means that all the time period that, Honorable John Jinapor spoke about, it will not be that time that we have to, because it's called emergency. Emergency fuel means immediately, because we don't have, if we want to follow the timelines, then it means that we'll be in doomsday. Do you understand the point?
No, I get it.
But just should we go to your paper now and do some other stories?
So that should tell you that the NDC means business. We are not, we will, in as much as we will indicate that the Akufo-Addo government has done this and that, we will not put blame on them and not find solutions. We just want to make it clear that they lied to us. But because we are serious and we mean business, we quickly found a way to make sure that our lives. That's why Ghanaians voted for us. We are not a government of excuses.
So it's not a case that, there's fuel, but you just want to take credit for something.
The NDC is not a government of excuses.
Okay.
Once we drew the attention of Ghanaians that this is the true state of the nation in terms of what Akufo-Addo left for us, we didn't just sit down and put our hands in between our laps. We quickly found a remedy to resolve the issue. And that is how come just yesterday we drew the attention of Ghanaians that we have purchased an emergency fuel from Nigeria and other sources to make sure that our lights are on. So right now, the most important thing is that, and the most important thing for Ghanaians is that my lights must be on. I'm not bothered as to how you make sure my lights are on.
Yeah.
And so we will not be here to be telling Ghanaians, giving Ghanaians excuses. Yeah. We will only indicate what happened previously and the fact that indeed this is what has happened now. And that is the fact that indeed we are trying to, resolve the issue. And so as the NDC, don't forget that John Mahama has 4 years. Yeah. He's ready. He started working, and he's not here this time to give excuses. Yeah. He just make sure that at least Ghanaians get to know what it is and what we have done, just to make sure that we still deliver on our promise. I
love how you're on top of the issues when it comes to power and all of those issues. So, do you know when the fuel is arriving in the country? You said emergency.
Emergency.
Yeah, I get it.
You keep asking me that question. I get it. The word emergency.
I get it.
Means that those periods that we talk about.
I understand.
Exactly.
But when exactly is it coming?
No, you see, your question should be would lights still have lights or not?
Oh,
Not the issue of the fuel. No. That's because Ghanaians, as you are asking me, Ghanaians are not interested with the fuel. Ghanaians are interested in the fact that as he's in the house, he has lights.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm telling you, that the back door does not matter. What you must indicate is that we've purchased emergency fuel to make sure that we have light continuously.
Yes, you told me.
Exactly.
You told me.
Exactly.
You told me that.
Because you are a voter. Your interest is to make sure that you have light.
Yes, exactly.
Not to ask me what is the fullest.
No. But
if I don't have light. If you don't have light, that's when you will be concerned.
But you told me that there was no fuel, right?
We didn't indicate there was no fuel. We indicated that the fuel left
was five,
not enough.
Yes,
exactly.
And then you say that you've purchased emergency fuel
to make sure that our lights
stay on.
Exactly.
Exactly. I get it. And I'm asking, when is this fuel dropping? Is it today 12 midday or tomorrow 5 p.m. or what?
That is what I'm saying. That the most important thing now is that we have purchased emergency fuel to make sure.
Do you not know the estimated time of arrival for this fuel?
My concern, what I want to establish.
It's okay if you don't know.
I don't want to give you a day or time. What I want us to establish is that we have resolved the problem by making sure that that fuel that was not enough, we have made sure we've purchased to make sure that we still have lights continuously.
Right.
And don't forget that the Ghanaian voter is not interested in when the fuel will come. He's interested in the fact that when he wakes up in the morning, he still has light.
You see, this is the only point I disagree with you is that because you told us we don't have fuel, and that automatically raises concerns that we don't have light. Exactly. So if you're saying that you're fixing the problem, then we are concerned. How exactly are they fixing
so that when
the
that day comes and it doesn't come, we can ask questions.
We told you we didn't have enough fuel.
Yes. And so now we are concerned.
And yesterday what happened? We know
there was a meeting. We know
exactly. And then we now, after telling you we didn't have fuel, the next day, yesterday, we told you that even though we do have fuel, we have quickly made, amends and find ways to make sure that we still have light.
You see that that's exactly what happened between the joint transition team. They told you there was fuel enough to carry you through, and you believed them. You are telling us now that you've purchased emergency fuel. You expect us to believe you, but we are just saying that. Give us an ETA, estimated time of arrival of this fuel. I know we have to move on from this.
You can begin your doubt. You can begin your doubt when you begin to have lights off. But until if your lights are still on, then you don't have to worry.
So
exactly, you get my point.
Let's leave it.
When your lights are still on, when the Ghanaian voter still has his lights on, he's not bothered about you at the back door.
Okay, all right.
And that is the job as a government. Our job is to make sure that the Ghanaians are comfortable. The Ghanaians get what they voted for. It's not about what you are doing back door. So don't forget, and let's be very fair. We told you we didn't have enough fuel. Just yesterday, we indicated to you that because we didn't have fuel, we have quickly purchased emergency fuel from Nigeria and other sources to make sure that we still have lights. Full stop. It means that what it means is that you are going to continue to have lights and you will not even hear issue of doomsday.
Well, anyway,
that's it.
Anyway, we get it. We'll take it. We'll live on. We'll move on. But you, because you believe there's a certain government and you are open to a certain reality, we also want to make sure that.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Reality is that don't forget. But you see, don't forget that as we are working for Ghanaians.
Yes.
Right. It's just like you are working here.
Yeah.
Your boss gives you work to do. He's not bothered about how you do it. What he wants is results. Is that not so?
Yes.
Exactly. If you're boss, so Ghanaians are not interested in how we do it. Ghanaians are interested in the results.
You see, you are wrong. Gideon, you are wrong. I would wager you that these responses, hold on a second. I'm happy to hear you out. I'm happy to hear you out after I land my point.
Would actually be listening to the fact that, because we didn't have fuel, so we should sit down and there's no do so. They don't care. They will tell us that we voted for you to make sure there's light. So don't tell us that because there are no fuel, so we should be doing so.
Great.
That's what let's move on.
Hear me out.
That the MPP keep on saying
Gideon,
that.
it's okay.
Hear
me out.
I'll conclude.
Right.
The MPP keep on saying that they handed over with our lights on. Is that not true? Which means that we must make sure that our lights are on continuously. We cannot come back as NDC and bring back to so.
And so you're doing that.
They will make sure that they will criticize us and make Ghanaians know that we are not doing our work well. And so quickly, once they have left the lights on and we handed over with the lights on, Whatever happens,
You keep
behind,
it on.
you have to make sure that it is on.
All right. Let's do the Economy Times now. It says President Mahama assures business community promising days ahead. And President John Dramani Mahama has assured business community that Ghana is once again open for business. In his inaugural speech at the swearing-in ceremony held yesterday, January 7, 2025, he reaffirmed, so that should be on Tuesday there, he reaffirmed Ghana's commitment to a business-friendly environment, emphasizing his government's focus on economic restoration. And also, foreign remittance can stop Ghana from borrowing if properly tracked, finance expert. Now, finance expert has admonished the John Mahama administration to pay much attention to the foreign remittance sector. Dr. Richmond Etuahene notes that foreign remittance sector is very huge, which can end Ghana's cyclical ritual of seeking relief from the International Monetary Fund and other multilaterals, indicating that remittances alone, if tracked properly and allowed to go through the banking system, it will be huge than the IMF $3 billion loan and other multilateral support, which mostly come with harsh conditions that affect ordinary citizens. And I think that's something that caught my eye in terms of the foreign remittance. You remember yesterday, Ata Kennedy was saying that if we take care of foreign diaspora, we could really rake in a lot more than we go out there to borrow. So, question is, what was the strategy? I mean, you've been alerted to the fact that there's a lot of money from the remittances sector. Are we paying heed to that?
Well, I thought you were have my bite.
On which one?
Yes.
The power.
And then I'll come into this. I mean,
the power. You've already had your bite.
No, but
you would also want to have a bite.
Let me have a bite on this.
Okay, have a bite on it.
You know, Sweetie and Kojo.
Then maybe I'll have a full one.
And
you have a bite.
And the viewing public. You know, President Mahama has promised accountability. My question is, how much is this backdoor fuel costing? That's one. Because you see, the process is as important as the product. It's very, very important. We can appreciate everything that you want to do for the Ghanaian people, but the process is as important as the product. And so we want to ask President John Dramani Mahama, how much is this emergency fuel cost? And then also another question that I have not seen being asked is on the inauguration. How much did that also cost us? Because he's promised accountability. And I mean, on remittances and then on the economy. The speech of President John Dramani Mahama was very clear because he has the mandate of the Ghanaian people overwhelmingly. He promised to do 4 things, which he tried to elaborate a lot more in his speech. One of that was to look at the economy of the country, to look at the governance and try to tackle corruption, and try to look at a number of things that he spoke about. For me, we have seen the level of work that the Kufuor-Bawumia-led government has done with the diaspora and the level at which remittances have increased significantly over the years. When government puts in the mobile money interoperability, Kojo, it would interest you to know, Sweetie, and the viewing public, if you are in Europe, you can send money directly to Ghana. Those days of Western Union and all of those have become a thing of the past. If people are in America, Latin America, Asia, any parts of the world, they can easily send money. So the platform has been put in place. The mechanisms has been put in place. There is no way that President John Dramani Mahama has any excuse not to deliver to the Ghanaian people.
Let me just give you some context here. And this is a story also from the Daily Graphic. It says, track remittances, expand property tax. I just want to bring this to your attention. The World Bank estimates that $4 billion worth of remittances flowed into Ghana's economy between 2016 and 2022. And this makes forex inflows from remittances the highest compared to cocoa, oil, and even gold, if receipts are personalized to factor in the true amount, according to some financial experts. Now, I remember very well Dr. Richmond Etuahene waging war on how we are not declaring the actual figures in terms of remittances that come in, where the money is going and all that. And you're saying, Doc, that this, the Akufo-Addo government did a lot of work. Give me some evidence to back this claim that you have done exceptionally well in terms of the monies that are coming into the country through remittances, what you did with it, the discrepancies between the records you have and Dr. Tiahene and his own checks and all that. Really, what have you done? And please be as specific as possible.
No, I mean, no, sweetie, you see, for me, you know, I'm not an economist. My area is governance and security.
Right.
If you want to really check the facts of what the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government has done in terms of remittances, it's evidential. I mean, you can always recall for those records. But for me, that's what I'm trying to say is that we created that platform. You saw very clearly how Ghanaian people around the world on a regular basis had the desire to send money to Ghana, to their families, to their friends, to continue projects that they had begun, and to see to it that their friends and their families continually receive those remittances. And the ease with which they could do that.
So it's about the ease, it's about the availability of modes of transfer and all that. But in terms of the revenue, that's, you know, but let's move on. We have just
the thought about the Tiahene is about how government can generate revenue from those remittances. How much did government generate in the last year, for example?
I don't have the records available readily.
But was government generating something from those ones?
I don't have the records available readily.
Yeah, the point, that's the point. That if you do and do it properly, you can get more money than the 3 billion we went to the IMF for. So that's the focus. Is government getting any revenue at all? Anyway.
Let's do some other stories. Two quickly, I'll add these two together and then we can talk about it.
But let me find out from there. Is there something you're looking at?
Well, thank you very much. Let me also address the issue of accountability. That is why we have a team on the Operation Recover All Loot as part of the accountability. Whatever amount we have even spent, we'll definitely account to Ghanaians. And you know that's why Parliament is there. When His Excellency John Dramani Mahama gets his appointees ready, definitely we'll account to Ghanaians on whatever amount we've spent on all the things that Ghanaians want to hear. On the issue of remittance, yes, of course. Whatever activity that will help this government raise enough funds, why not? Of course, but we indicated that as for some taxes like the e-levy, we will scrap it. I mean, we will not engage in nuisance taxes that will put so much burden on Ghanaians. And so, for us, if indeed the remittances raise enough revenue, then I'm sure that if we focus on that, just make sure that we get enough revenue from there so that at least we can scrap, we can use that to cushion, you know, other expenditure when we scrap e-levy, COVID levy, the 10% levy on bed tax and emissions levy within 90 days. And so for us, I think that we will look at it and definitely know how to make sure that we get enough funds from there.
Okay. I do have to say, though, that, you know, responses like, don't worry about the how, and once we say we'll keep the lights on, we'll keep it on, you don't need to bother yourself, those responses are part of the reason we booted out the NPP, you know. Every boss the bosses may be more interested in the results, but they are also very much interested in how it is done, how you achieve the results, which is why we have checks for plagiarism, which is why we have, you know, so many checks and balances in place, because it's not always true that the end justifies the means. You know what I mean? So also because you campaign on transparency and accountability and all that. So I'm just saying that going forward, you might have to be more transparent with us than saying that we shouldn't worry about the processes and only care about the results. You just said Nigeria. Yes.
We don't tell you.
No, so it's not an argument we're having. I'm just saying.
We've told you the source.
Yeah. You just can't tell us the ETA.
We are indicating that we are purchasing emergency fuel from Nigeria. We have told you where it's coming from. And so, once we told you what the issue was, we told you where we are getting the fuel to make sure that we make sure you have lights.
Gideon, my point is that going forward, this government, this administration must have, you ought to be more transparent with us than the NPP administration.
Why not? That is why you voted for us.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we'll make sure we're transparent. And that's why I'm saying that at least we're transparent to tell you where we're getting the fuel from.
Okay.
We didn't tell you that we're getting
I just want to read. We have 1 minute to go. Food crisis imminent in Volta region. This according to ASRA. That is the Accelerator for Systemic Risk Assessment. And it's supported by United Nations Foundation. It's an independent non-profit initiative. But let me just skip to this part where One of the members, I believe, of the Astra network, Sylvanus Doe, said at the workshop that if the rainfall pattern did not change for the better days, the food insecurity situation might be worse. I'll take your quick reflection and final take on all that, but I also want to add that irate youth storm public institutions in Tema, and they're demanding the exit of NPP appointees. It does not lie in your hands, ladies and gentlemen, and our cherished audience, to take up that role for yourself and go and sack people from their offices. There are systems in place for that to happen. So the group, the irate youth doing that, please, hopefully this gets to the attention of the appropriate authorities so they can take charge of it. Gentlemen, we've come to the end, but we'll take your final thoughts on these and other stories. Kojo, if you have any other thing to add quickly before.
I think these were that's...
Doug, let me start with you, Doug.
Yes, sweetie, abundance of food is important for everyone. We don't eat to survive, we don't live to eat. But I mean, I think that they should look at that. I mean, abundance of food is good. We don't want any food shortage anywhere. We've provided food for the Ghanaian people to eat. So we don't want any food shortage, especially in the World Bank of the NDC. We don't want any food shortage. And to again wish the President, John Dramani Mahama, the best in his leadership. All the promises he made that the Ghanaian people voted for him to take out e-levy, take out betting tax, take out COVID-19, all of those taxes that he said he would take out. We want to see that he gets to work and he does that.
All right.
I've seen that there's a list of parliamentary appointment committee that has come out as well. I'm sure that when President John Dramani Mahama sets up his immediate cabinet, they would go for vetting, and so would follow the due processes as well.
Thank you. Gideon.
Yes, we see. Let me address the issue of the irate
youth. Yeah.
Yesterday, the regional chairman of the NDC Greater Accra, Honorable Emmanuel Niam Shimo, addressed the media and addressed the youth to hasten slowly in terms of storming the public institutions, because we are interested in protecting state property. We don't want to encourage people to just storm into public institutions and do whatever they want. It's against the law, and we don't support that. And so we are actually in talks with the police to make sure that there's law and order. And so I'm sure that today, definitely the youth, I'm sure yesterday, the youth were called to that, because once our attention was drawn, we quickly addressed this issue and then we took forward. And
well, the story did say that nobody was hurt, so yeah.
Yeah, so that at least we just make sure that we are not in support of lawlessness. On the issue of food security, well, yes, there's no way we want to be hungry, not at all. And so it is good that there has been a revelation. And sometimes revelations are brought so that at least it can be redeemed. And so once there has been a revelation, definitely I know that in the coming days, things will be done to make sure that we don't have food insecurity.
Well,
it's been awesome having the two gentlemen here. Let's see how the year goes. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Paul Dankwa is former spokesperson. So does that mean you no longer speak for government?
No, he
no longer speak for the previous government,
You're not in power.
So
he's former spokesperson.
He could be speaking for the MPP.
Yeah, but not.
So he's an MPP communicator.
Spokesperson on governance and security. We also had Gideon Tete, legal practitioner for Greater Accra and Greater Accra Regional Director, for conflict resolution for the NDC. But stay, sports comes up next with Muftar Nabila Abdullahi. We're back in a bit.